Have you ever noticed how easily you pour love into others, yet when it comes to yourself, you ration it like a scarce resource? The haunting truth is this: you can be surrounded by people, adored even, and still feel empty inside if you have not learned to love yourself first. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. But here's the paradox. Most of us confuse self-love with arrogance, or mistake self-sacrifice for virtue. And so we keep betraying our own hearts, wondering why peace slips further away. What if I told you that when you learn to love yourself unconditionally, you not only heal your wounds, but also create abundance in your reality? Opportunities, clarity, and authentic relationships begin to align as if by magic. And stay until the end, because there's a powerful bonus lesson waiting for you, the single practice that will change the way you see yourself forever. Before we begin with number 1, where every video is a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist insight you won't find anywhere else. Let's begin. 1. The mirror of forgotten worth. You spend your days searching for recognition in the eyes of others, don't you? A kind word, a nod, a smile that tells you, yes, you are enough. But what happens when that smile does not come? What happens when their silence becomes the mirror in which you see yourself? You begin to forget your own light. You begin to believe your worth depends on their approval. Yet Buddhism whispers a different truth. When you see your own light, the shadows vanish. Imagine a candle holding itself up to the sun, desperately trying to add brightness to the sky. Does the sun need the candle? Number. And neither do you need validation from others to shine. The flame already burns inside your heart. But you have been taught to believe it is small, fragile, dependent on others. In reality, it is eternal, waiting for you to notice. When you are blind to your own reflection, you give away your freedom. You live enslaved to opinions, praise, and judgments. You chase compliments like water in the desert, but they never quench your thirst. And in this endless chase, you abandon the most sacred relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a golden flame resting gently within your chest. It does not flicker when ignored. It does not grow dim when criticized. It simply burns, silent and unwavering. That flame is your true worth. That flame is the love you keep forgetting to offer yourself. Ask yourself, what worth are you still begging others to confirm? What story about yourself do you keep rewriting just to fit into their expectations? And what would happen if you stopped asking? Perhaps you would discover something astonishing, that you were already whole, already radiant, already enough. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we cling to illusions, and one of the greatest illusions is believing that love from the outside can ever replace love from the inside. External love is beautiful, but it cannot heal the wounds of self-abandonment. Only your own acceptance can. So let this truth echo in your heart. I am already whole. My worth is not borrowed. My light shines without permission. Say it softly, breathe it deeply. Let it anchor in your mind. Because the moment you believe it, life itself changes. The day you stop chasing approval is the day you begin to walk in freedom. The day you stop needing permission is the day you finally live. And the day you love yourself more than anyone else is the day the world begins to reflect back that same love. Remember this moral line: the moment you recognize your own light, the world no longer has the power to define you. 2. The quiet betrayal of the soul. How many times have you whispered yes while your soul quietly cried no? Each time you did, a small fracture appeared inside you. You felt the sting of it, but you silenced it, thinking it was the price of peace, of acceptance, of belonging. Yet the Buddha reminds us, to abandon yourself is the deepest form of abandonment. No one can wound you as deeply as you wound yourself when you betray your own heart. Think of a tree. Its branches may reach for the sky. Its leaves may sway beautifully in the wind. But if the roots are poisoned by neglect, no bloom will last. This is what happens when you silence your truth. You may appear fine to the world, smiling, nodding, pleasing, but inside your roots ache and your soul begins to wither. Every moment of self-betrayal leaves behind a trace of bitterness. You begin to resent others, not realizing that the resentment is a mirror of your own silence. You begin to feel lost, not because the path is unclear, but because you keep walking away from yourself. And in that quiet betrayal, peace becomes impossible. Close your eyes for a moment. Place your hand gently on your chest. Whisper softly, "I hear you." Notice how your body responds, how your breath shifts, how your heart relaxes when finally acknowledged. This is what it means to return to yourself, listening, honoring, refusing to betray. Ask yourself, where have you silenced your truth just to keep the peace? And at what cost? Was the approval worth the fracture? Was the temporary harmony worth the pain of abandoning your own voice? Imagine how life would feel if your no carried the same sacred weight as your yes. Affirm these words with me: I will not betray my heart. My no is as sacred as my yes. I choose myself without guilt. Feel the strength in those words. Feel the way they reclaim your power, the way they shut the cracks that years of silence have left behind. The teachings of Buddhism remind us that compassion begins within. To love others while abandoning yourself is not compassion. It is sacrifice without wisdom. True love is balance, rooted, steady, nourishing both you and the world around you. When you honor your truth, you do not become selfish, you become whole. And wholeness is the soil from which kindness, strength, and abundance naturally grow. The moral is simple, yet it holds the weight of freedom. When you stop betraying yourself, life blooms again. Love yourself enough to make your truth sacred. Love yourself enough to never abandon the voice of your own soul. For that is where real peace begins. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "My love heals me." Freedom hidden in self-respect. You were not born to live begging for scraps of approval. And yet, how often do you lower your head, shrink your voice, or bend your truth just to be accepted? Every time you do, you trade your freedom for a fleeting nod. Buddhism teaches us respect for yourself is the seed of liberation. Without self-respect, the spirit is chained. With it, the spirit walks free. Picture a bird tied to the ground. Its wings may be strong, its heart may long for the open sky, but the rope keeps it earthbound. It cannot complain that the sky is out of reach. Because the truth is, freedom was always possible, but only if it dared to cut the rope. In the same way, the invisible chains of self-doubt, fear, and dependence on approval keep you from soaring. The sky of your potential is not lost to you. You are simply still tied down. The quiet truth is that no one can cut those ropes for you. Others may love you, encourage you, even praise you. But until you respect yourself, you will remain bound. And this is why so many live with restless hearts, always searching for something they cannot name. They do not realize that what they are missing is not love from the outside, but respect from the inside. Close your eyes. Imagine ropes tied around your arms, your chest, your ankles. Each rope represents a place you gave away your dignity for approval. Now, one by one, picture yourself cutting them. Feel the release, the breath returning, the weight leaving. With each rope gone, your body feels lighter, your soul freer. This is what self-respect feels like. This is what liberation feels like. Ask yourself, what invisible chains keep you bound? Is it the fear of disappointing others, the habit of apologizing for simply existing, or the need to prove yourself worthy in every room you enter? And why are you still carrying them when freedom is already within your reach? Whisper these truths to yourself. I honor my boundaries. My freedom begins within. I release the need for approval. Say them not as empty words, but as vows, seeds planted in the soil of your heart. When you respect yourself, you no longer walk chained to the opinions of others. You walk guided by your own inner dignity. The Buddha's wisdom reveals that true freedom is not about escaping the world, but about escaping the prison of self-neglect. Respect for yourself is the doorway through which love, peace, and abundance enter. Without it, every blessing leaks away. With it, every step becomes steady and strong. Remember this truth. The moment you rise in self-respect, the chains fall away, and the sky that once seemed unreachable becomes your natural home. Love without clinging. Love often disguises itself in the form of attachment. You hold tightly, afraid to lose, and in that very grip, the essence of love begins to slip away. The Buddha reminds us, attachment disguises itself as love. True love, whether for yourself or others, is never born from clinging. It is born from freedom. Think of water held in your hand. If you cup your palm too tightly, it spills through your fingers. But when you hold it gently, with care, yet without fear, it stays. This is how love must be approached. Love yourself without pride. Love others without grasping. To cling is to choke the beauty of connection, but to hold lightly is to allow it to breathe. Many suffer because they confuse possession with love. They clutch relationships, achievements, or identities. But emptiness comes believing not that letting go would mean emptiness. It comes from the suffocation of attachment. When you cling, you are not loving. You are fearing, and fear is the enemy of love. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine holding a delicate flower in your hand. If you squeeze it, its petals will crumble. If you drop it carelessly, it withers on the ground. But if you hold it lightly, it rests beautifully in your palm, alive and unbroken. This flower is your love, towards yourself, towards others, towards life. Handle it with gentle strength. Ask yourself, who or what are you gripping too tightly, mistaking it for love? Is it a person, an idea of who you must be, or a dream you fear to lose? Notice how the grip exhausts you, how the fear of loss overshadows the joy of simply being with it. What would change if you held it with open hands instead? Affirm these truths softly. I love without holding. I release without fear. I am complete with or without. Feel the freedom in these words. Feel how they return your power to you. When you know you are whole, you no longer need to cling. And when you no longer cling, love becomes pure, vast, and limitless. Buddhism teaches that all things are impermanent. To love with wisdom is to embrace this impermanence, not as a curse, but as the very reason love is precious. What you cling to will fade, but what you love with open hands will leave peace, not pain, when it passes. Remember this truth. Love is not proven by how tightly you hold on, but by how gently you let it be. The more you release, the freer you become. And in freedom, both you and your love can finally breathe. 5. The sacredness of your own presence. Life begins to transform the very moment you treat yourself as sacred. For too long, you may have rushed through your days, dismissing your needs, ignoring your heart, forgetting the quiet holiness of simply being alive. But Buddhism reminds us, When you honor yourself, the universe bows with you. When you see yourself as worthy, existence itself mirrors that reverence back to you. Imagine a temple left abandoned. Its walls once held prayers, its air once vibrated with devotion. But left neglected, dust gathers, silence hardens, and the sacred becomes forgotten. This is what happens when you abandon yourself, when you treat your mind, body, and soul as if they are not worthy of care. Yet the truth is this: you are the living temple, and your presence is holy ground. Think of how carefully people enter a sacred space, removing their shoes, quieting their voices, bowing their heads. What would change if you treated yourself with the same reverence? If every thought, every action, every choice was guided by respect for your own being? The way you speak to yourself, the food you eat, the rest you allow. These are not small things. They are rituals, and they shape the sanctity of your inner temple. Close your eyes. Picture yourself walking barefoot into a grand temple. The air is still, the light is gentle, and every step feels sacred. Then realize the temple you are entering is your body, your mind, your soul. You are the holy ground you have been searching for. Feel the awe of this truth. Ask yourself, what rituals of respect can you bring into your daily life for yourself? Can you pause for silence instead of rushing? Can you speak with kindness instead of criticism? Can you offer rest instead of punishment? Each act of reverence polishes the dust, restores the beauty, and awakens the spirit within. Affirm these truths gently. I am sacred ground. I honor my inner temple. My life deserves reverence. Let them settle into you like a prayer whispered at dawn. The more you believe them, the more your life will rise to meet that belief. Buddhism teaches that all beings carry within them the seed of awakening. To honor yourself is not arrogance. It is recognition of the sacred seed already inside. When you bow to yourself, you bow to life itself. And life, in turn, responds with abundance, peace, and love. Remember this truth. You are not a neglected temple. You are the sacred ground upon which life itself is built. When you step inside with reverence, the universe steps in with you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "My love heals me." 6. The test of loneliness. There is a test that life places before every soul, the test of loneliness. When solitude feels heavy, like emptiness pressing against your chest, it is a sign that self-love has not yet blossomed. But when solitude feels like peace, when silence becomes a friend instead of a punishment, then you are free. Buddhism whispers this truth. The one who can sit alone has mastered love. Think of a lake at night. It does not complain of loneliness. It reflects the sky above, embraces the silence around it, and rests in its own stillness. The lake does not seek company to prove its worth. It simply exists, full and complete, holding space for whatever life places within it. You too are meant to be like this lake, at peace in your own presence. The reason loneliness hurts so much is not because you are truly empty, but because you have forgotten how to sit with yourself. You run, you distract, you fill the silence with noise, fearing what you might hear if the world goes quiet. But the truth is, your own company is not your enemy. Your own presence is the medicine you have been avoiding. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself sitting beside a calm, moonlit lake. The world is silent. No voices, no demands, no distractions, just the rhythm of your breath and the steady beat of your heart. Let yourself feel this moment. Notice how peace arrives when you stop resisting the stillness. This is what it means to rest in yourself. Ask yourself gently, do you run from your own company or do you rest in it? Do you mistake silence for emptiness? when in reality, silence is the space where your true self begins to speak. To be alone is not to be abandoned. It is to be invited into the deepest friendship you will ever know, the friendship with your own soul. Whisper these affirmations. I am safe in my own presence. My silence is not emptiness. I am whole when I am alone. Let these words echo in your heart until they feel true. For when you no longer fear solitude, you no longer beg for company to complete you. Buddhism teaches that the root of suffering is attachment. When you cling to others out of fear of being alone, love becomes distorted. But when you are at peace with yourself, love becomes free. It is no longer need, but gift. Remember this moral line. When you learn to sit with your own soul in silence, you will discover that loneliness was never emptiness. It was the doorway to freedom. 7. The prison of comparison. Every time you compare yourself to another, you step into a prison without walls. You look at someone else's path, their possessions, their beauty, their success, and quietly whisper to yourself, I am not enough. But who told you that their measure was yours to carry? Who decided that their way of shining should define the worth of your light? Buddhism teaches with gentle clarity. A lotus does not envy the sun. It blooms in its own pond. Think of two stars in the night sky. They do not compete for brightness. One does not diminish the other. Both shine, both exist, both are eternal. Yet when you compare, you rob yourself of this same freedom. You trade your peace for insecurity, your joy for envy, your unique path for someone else's shadow. And in this trade, you forget the truth. You are incomparable. Comparison is a thief disguised as motivation. It whispers, look at them. You should be more. But what it steals is your presence, your gratitude, your ability to see the beauty of your own unfolding. A lotus in a quiet pond does not wait for the applause of the sun, nor does it shrink because the sun exists. It blooms simply because blooming is its nature. That is what you are here to do. Not to measure, not to compete, but to unfold. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture a lotus bud resting in still waters. Darkness surrounds it, silence covers it, and no one is watching. Slowly, gently, the petals begin to open. No applause, no comparison, no race, only quiet becoming. That lotus is you. Your growth is not for their approval, it is for your soul's freedom. Ask yourself with honesty, whose approval are you secretly competing for? Is it the eyes of family, friends, strangers on a screen? What would happen if you stopped running in a race that was never yours? Perhaps you would finally breathe. Perhaps you would finally see that the journey of another has nothing to do with the sacredness of your own. Affirm these truths softly. I am incomparable. My journey is uniquely mine. I bloom where I am planted. Feel how these words lift the chains from your spirit. No one else has your story, your scars, your lessons, your wisdom. No one else has the exact song your heart was born to sing, and that is your gift. Buddhism reminds us that suffering is born when we grasp at illusions. Comparison is one of the greatest illusions. It convinces you that worth is measured externally. But liberation comes when you return to yourself, when you see that your place in existence is already whole, already complete. Remember this truth. Two stars never compete, yet both shine eternally. So too, you were never meant to compare. You were meant to shine. 8. The weight of pleasing others. Every forced smile you wear is a stone placed quietly upon your heart. At first it feels small, almost weightless. But as the days and years pass, the basket grows heavier. You carry the weight of expectations, the burden of roles, the exhaustion of constantly shaping yourself to please others. But how long can you carry what was never yours to hold? The Buddha reminds us with simple clarity, the river flows without asking to be loved. Think of a bird in the sky. If it tries to please every shifting wind, it soon forgets how to fly. Its wings, once free, become slaves to direction that was never its own. This is what happens when you live to please others. You lose the memory of your true flight. You smile when you want to weep. You agree when you long to say no. You sacrifice your truth for temporary approval, and in doing so, you slowly abandon yourself. The tragedy is not that others ask it of you, but that you give it so willingly, forgetting the sacredness of your own soul. And yet, the moment you awaken to this truth, you are free. For freedom is not found in their approval, it is found in your alignment with your inner voice. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself holding a basket heavy with stones. Each stone represents a forced yes, a suppressed truth, a moment of bending when you wanted to stand tall. Now, one by one, picture yourself setting the stones down. Feel the weight lifting, your shoulders loosening, your breath deepening. With each stone released, you return more fully to yourself. Ask yourself, what part of your life exists only to please others? Is it the path you walk each day, the words you speak, the dreams you've buried? And if you stopped carrying their stones, what might your life feel like? Perhaps lighter, freer, truer, perhaps finally yours. Affirm softly, I release the need to please. My truth is enough. I live by inner alignment. Let these words become your shield. For when you stand in truth, you no longer beg for love. You allow it to flow naturally, like the river that does not ask to be loved, and yet nourishes all it touches. Buddhism teaches that clinging to what is false is the root of suffering. To cling to pleasing others at the cost of your soul is to live in quiet pain, but to release this weight is to rediscover joy, authenticity, and peace. Remember this truth. The day you stop carrying the stones of others is the day you remember how to fly. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "My love heals me." 9. The gentle armor of boundaries. Boundaries are often misunderstood. Some fear they are walls, barriers built from fear or rejection. But in truth, boundaries are not walls. They are gardens. And like every garden, what grows inside you must be protected. Buddhism teaches gently, compassion without boundaries is self-destruction. To give endlessly without care for yourself is not love. It is the slow unraveling of your spirit. Picture a candle burning brightly in the night. Without glass to shield it, the first wind will extinguish its flame. This is the way of a life without boundaries. Your light, no matter how radiant, is easily taken, dimmed, or destroyed by the demands of others. But when you guard your flame, not with walls of stone, but with the gentle armor of boundaries, your light becomes steady. It continues to warm and guide without being consumed. So many souls suffer because they confuse endless giving with compassion. They say yes when their heart aches to say no. They overextend, believing that self-sacrifice is love. But love without balance becomes poison. Just as a tree cannot pour its roots into every direction without breaking, your energy cannot serve all without withering. Boundaries are the shape of wisdom. They allow you to give without destroying yourself. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine drawing a soft circle of golden light around your body. This circle does not trap you, it protects you. It says to the world, here I stand, whole and sacred, and here are the limits that honor my soul. Feel how safe it is within this circle. Feel how your heart relaxes, knowing it no longer needs to fight for peace. Ask yourself with courage, where in your life does saying yes feel like self-betrayal? Whose requests do you honor at the expense of your own truth? And why have you believed their comfort is more sacred than your peace? These questions are not meant to bring guilt. They are meant to bring awakening. For the first step to freedom is seeing where you have given yourself away. Whisper these affirmations. My boundaries protect my light. Saying no honors my soul. I am allowed to guard my peace. These are not just words. They are reminders that you are sacred ground. Protecting your energy does not make you selfish. It makes you strong. Only from a place of balance can compassion flow endlessly, without bitterness, without exhaustion. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us that the middle way is the path of harmony. Boundaries are this middle way in action. They allow you to give with love while keeping your center intact. You do not have to explain them, justify them, or apologize for them. A clear boundary is an act of respect both for yourself and for others. Remember this truth. When you guard your inner garden with gentle boundaries, your love does not shrink. It flourishes, radiant and eternal, untouched by the winds of the world. The power of speaking kindly to yourself. Every day the voice inside your head speaks without pause. Often it is harsh, demanding, critical, a relentless judge whispering that you are not enough. Each word leaves a mark, and slowly, invisibly, your spirit begins to bend under its weight. But what if that same voice became your healer instead of your wounding blade? Buddhism reminds us the tongue can be both a sword and a salve. The power to harm and the power to heal reside within your own words. Think of a garden. No plant grows from curses or blame. It flourishes from water, sunlight, and gentle care. In the same way, your soul grows in response to words of kindness, encouragement, and love. Every affirmation you whisper, every gentle phrase you speak to yourself nourishes the roots of your being. You cannot control the storms outside, but you can tend the garden within. Consider how often you belittle yourself, your mistakes, your appearance, your choices. Each harsh word acts like a stone thrown into your inner garden, displacing the soil of peace, scattering the seeds of confidence. Yet each compassionate word you offer yourself is a drop of water, a sunbeam, a quiet miracle that allows growth to begin again. Close your eyes and imagine speaking to yourself as you would to a child you love deeply. Whisper blessings, encouragement, forgiveness. Say softly, I see you, I honor you, I am here with you. Let your own voice become a friend to your soul, a guardian that nurtures rather than harms. Feel how your chest loosens, how your mind softens, and how your spirit begins to breathe freely. Ask yourself, what words have you been feeding your soul, poison or medicine? How many times have you repeated phrases that deepen wounds instead of healing them? And what might change if you intentionally spoke with gentleness, patience, and love, even when you falter or struggle? Affirm these truths quietly, letting them settle into the marrow of your being. My words heal me. I am gentle with myself. I speak as a friend to my own soul. Allow these words to become your daily ritual, your silent prayer, your guide back to wholeness. Buddhism teaches that suffering is magnified by ignorance, and there is no greater ignorance than forgetting the power of your own voice. When you speak kindly to yourself, you shift your relationship with life. You cultivate resilience, confidence, and the quiet joy of knowing you are enough exactly as you are. Remember this moral line. The words you speak to yourself can either wound or heal, but when chosen with care, they become the medicine that restores your soul and illuminates your path. 11. When you stop chasing, life arrives. How often do you find yourself running, chasing love, approval, success, or validation, believing that the next moment, the next person, or the next achievement will finally bring peace? Yet the Buddha teaches a quiet, almost paradoxical truth. The still pond reflects the sky. The restless one cannot. When you stop chasing, life stops eluding you. The moment you cease fleeing from yourself, everything you have sought begins to arrive naturally. Picture a butterfly. It never lands on the hand that grasps wildly, demanding its presence. But when the hand is still, open and patient, the butterfly descends softly, resting gently. Life also comes to you, not through force, control, or endless effort, but when you are in tune with your true center. When you stop running away from yourself, the world no longer has to prove anything. It simply reflects your calmness. Chasing is a quiet form of fear. It tells you that you are not whole, not worthy, not enough. And by chasing, you strengthen the very doubt you want to remove. The truth is clear. The more you run, the further life feels. But the more you return to yourself, the more easily everything falls into place. The love you want, the clarity you long for, the abundance that comes naturally to those who rest in their own presence. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself standing barefoot in a peaceful meadow. A soft breeze moves the flowers, letting them drift gently into your open hands. You do nothing but accept. You do not chase. You do not hold tightly. You simply stay in stillness, and life moves toward you. Feel the calm in this stillness, the ease in letting go, the quiet joy in trusting that what is meant for you will come on its own. Ask yourself, what are you running after that might come if you stayed still? Is it love from someone unable to give it? Recognition for your value? Success that asks for your endless effort? Imagine how your life could change if you let patience, balance, and trust take the place of constant chasing. Whisper these truths gently. I no longer run after what is already mine. What I need comes naturally to me. I move in harmony with life's flow. Let these words sink into your mind like calm water, each repeat bringing back your inner peace. Buddhism reminds us that suffering comes from attachment, craving, and unrest. When you chase, you hold on to an illusion. But when you rest in stillness, you wake up to truth. The life you've been seeking has always been on its way. You only had to stop running to notice it. Keep this lesson close. The moment you stop chasing, life arrives. Your calmness becomes the magnet that pulls in what is truly yours. And in that silence, your spirit finally finds rest. We'd love to hear what you feel. If you're unsure what to write, simply type, "My love heals me." Bonus lesson: the return to yourself. The greatest journey is not counted in miles or places, but in the quiet steps back into your own heart. Many times we wander without end, searching for love, approval, adventure, or meaning outside, thinking happiness lives somewhere out of reach. Yet Buddhism reminds us softly, the one who finds himself is never lost again. Real discovery does not begin in faraway lands, but within the safe space of your own being. Picture a river flowing endlessly through valleys and fields, looking for its purpose. No matter how far it goes, it always comes back to the ocean where it began. In the same way, all love, all peace, and all wisdom return when you return to yourself. Your heart is the ocean of your life. The path back to it is both the ending and the beginning. The sadness of life is that many spend years searching outside for what already lives within. You may seek comfort in another's eyes, meaning in your successes, or safety in their approval. But none of these can ease the quiet longing inside. Only the act of returning to yourself can, and when you do, the heart that was once restless turns into a harbor of peace. Close your eyes and picture opening a door you never knew was there. Behind it stands your true self, bright and calm, smiling without judgment. Step through. Feel the warmth, the welcome, the safety that has always belonged to you. This is not a dream. It is the simple, powerful act of coming back. With every breath, every mindful moment, you reclaim the love and calm that were always within. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly returned to yourself? How long have you searched for what was never gone? And how would life shift if, beginning today, you allowed yourself to fully rest in your own presence? Every moment spent ignoring your heart is a moment away, but each mindful return is a quiet miracle, a gift only you can give. Affirm softly, I am at home within myself. I am my own safe place. Loving myself is my greatest gift. Feel these words echo in every part of your being. They are not just simple phrases. They are a compass leading you back to the place where wholeness, freedom, and unconditional love live. Buddhism teaches that the way to peace is not through running, achieving, or demanding, but by turning inward, seeing your own being, and honoring it. When you stop searching outside, when you finally return home, everything changes. The love you once looked for in others reflects back from your own heart, and the life you longed for begins to unfold with ease. Hold on to this lesson. The river always returns to the ocean. In the same way, all love, all clarity, and all peace return when you return to yourself. In that return, you are never lost again, and every step forward flows from the true home within. Quick summary of the principles: the mirror of forgotten worth. True self-love begins when you stop seeking validation outside and recognize your own inner light. You don't need permission to feel worthy. You already are. The quiet betrayal of the soul. Every time you silence your truth to please others, you wound your spirit. Choosing self-honesty is the first step to healing. Freedom hidden in self-respect. When you respect yourself, you no longer beg for approval. Self-respect is the root of freedom and inner strength, loving without clinging. Buddhism teaches that love is pure when free from attachment. Loving yourself first helps you give love without fear or control. The sacredness of your own presence. Treat yourself as sacred, and life begins to align differently. When you honor yourself, the world reflects that reverence back to you. The test of loneliness. Learning to be at peace in solitude is the ultimate sign of self-love. When you enjoy your own presence, loneliness loses its power. The prison of comparison. Comparing yourself with others steals your joy. Your path is unique, and your growth cannot be measured by someone else's journey. The weight of pleasing others. Living only to please others exhausts your soul. Letting go of this burden allows you to live with authenticity and peace. The gentle armor of boundaries. Boundaries are a form of self-love. They protect your energy and ensure that compassion flows without draining you. The power of speaking. Kindly to yourself. Your inner voice can either wound or heal you. Speak with kindness, and your heart becomes your greatest ally. When you stop chasing, life arrives. Love and peace flow naturally when you stop chasing them. Stillness and acceptance invite life to come toward you. The return to yourself. The greatest journey is inward, back into your own heart. When you truly return to yourself, you will never feel lost again. So remember this: loving yourself is not an act of selfishness, but of awakening. When you stop abandoning your own heart, life begins to rearrange itself in your favor. What you once chased now flows toward you because you are no longer running from yourself. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. This timeless teaching reminds us that self-love is not arrogance. It is the seed of compassion. When you honor yourself, you naturally radiate more peace, more clarity, and more kindness into the world. Carry this truth with you, not just as knowledge, but as a practice. Begin with one small act of love for yourself today, and let it grow into a lifelong devotion. In the silence of your own presence, you will find the deepest companionship. What is one small act of self-love you will begin today without waiting for permission? If this teaching touched your heart, remember to like and share this video. Share your reflections in the comments below. I'd love to hear your journey. For more Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, awakened life.